This is a story of Odogwu Nalienu, a strong man that climbs an iroko tree. In the heart of Adodoma village, where the sun painted the earth in hues of gold and green, lived a young man named Odogwu. Despite being born into a rich and respected traditional Igbo family, Odogwu was known throughout the village for his laziness. His father Mba was a prosperous yam farmer, blessed with an abundance of yam barns that stood as a testament to his hard work and dedication. However, Odogwu could hardly be bothered to lend a hand in the family's flourishing enterprise. While his father toiled in the fields, nurturing the crops that sustained their family, Odogwu preferred to lounge about, indulging in idle daydreams and the fleeting pleasures of youth. He often watched his two sisters, Ngala and Olanna, busy with household chores and preparing for their future, while he dismissed the idea of farming as beneath him. Why should I work when I will inherit all of this? Odogwu would boast to anyone who cared to listen, believing that his father's wealth would ensure his comfort without any effort on his part. Mba, however, had long warned his son about the importance of hard work and responsibility. As the only son, Odogwu, it is your duty to take up farming and maintain our family legacy, he would say, his voice filled with both concern and disappointment. Yet, Odogwu was oblivious to his father's wisdom. He spent his days gallivanting around the village, seeking the company of young girls who seemed to swarm at the mention of his future inheritance. Unaware of the challenges that lay ahead, in his mind, he was the king of the village, but little did he know that his carefree existence was about to change forever. Odogwu, Chika, and Mado were inseparable during their childhood, often playing in the moonlight after the day's work was done. However, while Chika and Mba helped their parents on the farm or fetched firewood to sell at the market, Odogwu's life of luxury made him different. Chika and Mado, whose families struggled to make ends meet, knew the value of hard work. "Come, Odogwu, let's go to the farm today," Chika would say. "Or we could fetch firewood and sell it at the market," Mado would suggest. But Odogwu would scoff at them. "That's work for poor people." Chika and Mado became tired of trying to convince their friend. They would talk about how every yam seed they planted could become something great, or how selling firewood could help them save for the future. But Odogwu, blinded by the wealth his father provided, could not see the value in their labor. The rift between the friends grew, with Chika and Mado becoming more focused on their futures, while Odogwu continued to drift, relying on his father's riches. This set up a powerful contrast between Odogwu's privileged but lazy life and his friends' hard-working but less fortunate existence. As Odogwu's father Mba continued to remind him of his responsibility as the only son, Odogwu brushed it off, secure in the belief that once his father passes, all of his wealth will be his. He walked around the village with a swagger, confidently telling anyone who would listen, "Why should I work when I'll inherit everything?" Meanwhile, Chika and Mado saw through the facade. They worked tirelessly on their own, growing stronger and more determined with each day passing. They watched as Odogwu squandered his time. But as time passed, Chika and Mado realized that Odogwu's path would lead to failure if he doesn't change. His father's warning grew louder, and the reality of his situation began to close in on him. 15 years have passed, and the village of Adodoma has changed. Odogwu's father, Mba, has grown old and weary, no longer able to manage the family's affairs. Ngala and Olanna, now beautiful young women, known for their hard work, attracted many suitors from neighboring villages. It should have been a time of celebration for the family, with the prospect of forging alliance through marriage. However, with Mba's health declining, the responsibility over overseeing these important decisions fell to Odogwu. In Adodoma, marriage is a sacred tradition governed by strict customs, and the kinsmen have provided a detailed 3-page list of items that suitors must provide to marry a bride. But Odogwu, driven by greed and a sense of self-importance, decided to exploit this opportunity for his own gain. He took the traditional list and added 4 more pages filled with outrageous demands, items unheard of in the village history. Odogwu's modifications to the marriage list shook the community. Instead of expected items like palm wine, yam tubers, and clothes, he included absurd requests such as animal skin, golden beads, and massive quantities of livestock. As if these were not enough, Odogwu added 200 tubers of yam, big sizes only, 10 fat pigs, 10 cartons of Remy Martins, 25 crates of stout, 20 crates of Hero, 10 cartons of Gouda, 20 crates of Coca-Cola, 8 large he-goats, 20 cartons of malt, 10 pieces of expensive wrappers, and most shocking of all, 200 bags of cement. The suitors, who once eagerly sought to marry Ngala and Olanna, now hesitated, discouraged by the impossible requirements. Ngala and Olanna, who had been looking forward to their marriages, are now heartbroken. They watched on as one suitor after the other, unable to meet Odogwu's inflated list. Their dreams of marriage and starting their own families were crushed, and whispers spread through the village about Odogwu's selfishness. At first, Odogwu was oblivious to the harm he is causing. He basked in the attention, believing that by controlling the marriages, he has cemented his authority as the head of the family. However, when his sisters confronted him, pleading for him to reconsider, he dismissed their concerns, claiming that only the wealthiest suitors were worthy of them. Olanna and Ngala's anguish grew, and even the kinsmen who were once supportive of Odogwu's began to turn against him. They realized that Odogwu is no longer acting in the best interest of his family, but in the pursuit of greed, which goes against the community's values. Odogwu's world was turned upside down when one afternoon, two sleek cars pulled up in front of his father's compound. Stepping out of the vehicles were his childhood friends, Chika and Mado, who once toiled in the fields, while Odogwu dismissed their efforts as work for poor people. Now they have returned to the village, not as laborers, but as wealthy men, their lives transformed by hard work and ambition. Odogwu's jaw dropped at the sight of their cars, polished, luxurious, and the kind he had only ever dreamed of. Chika and Mado, once his equal, now exude confidence and success. The weight of his missed opportunities crashed down on him like a flood. It was in that moment that Odogwu realized the truth. While he was playing the role of the village champion, lazily basking in his father's wealth and gallivanting with women, his friends had been building their futures. Trying to mask his shock, Odogwu greeted them, offering kola nuts as tradition demands. Chika and Mado smiled, accepting the gesture, but instead of the traditional kola nuts ceremony, they equally handed him expensive wines and bundles of cash. Gifts far more valuable than anything Odogwu had ever seen in his compound. The gesture was systematic. His friends no longer belonged to the same world he lived in. Feeling both pride and shame, Odogwu hesitated as he tried to figure out why they have come. His mind immediately jumped to the thought that they must have come to marry his sisters, Ngala and Olanna. After all, they are now successful men looking for wives. But when he mentioned his sisters, Chika and Mado exchanged a glance and gently explained that they were not interested in marrying the girls. "We just come to greet you, Odogwu, to see our old friend," Mado said, placing a hand on Odogwu's shoulder before turning toward his car. Chika added, "There are other families with daughters who will be on our way." The cold reality hit Odogwu as he watched their cars disappear down the road. His former friends now wealthy and influential, see him as nothing more than a relic of the past. The moment was crushing. The riches he had once boasted about, his father's wealth, his future inheritance, were now overshadowed by the successes his friends had built with their own hands. Odogwu, for all his pride, was nothing more than a village champion. This is just the beginning.